Billy,
Hey,
what a day to have you on.
anything new going on in the gambling world?
Oh, a little of this.
I just met one of your buddies outside, one of your people, Sam Ginsberg from Pittsburgh.
What do you mean by my people?
Oh, he's a very nice guy.
He's
what a sweetheart. What a sweetheart of a guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny when I know it's big when at 6:30 in the morning I'm getting texts from people in my family that don't know hardly anything about gambling.
Right.
But they just know I live in Vegas and I'm involved in sports betting. So they were like, "Wow, look at this. Do you believe this? And I have a lot to say.
Please.
I do, because how dumb are some of these players? Now there's 4 teams. I just read the New York Post. 4 teams involved here.
Well, not teams involved.
Well, the New York Post says Lakers, Raptors. I'm reading from the site, from the website. Lakers, Raptors, Hornets, and Trailblazers.
That just means,
all have been named in the indictment.
Well, that just means that the bets in games involving those teams and
so it's just the New York Post doing their buzz thing. Looks like it's more than it is.
No, but you might be right to some extent, because we just talked about in the Lakers case, there was, you have to be really careful with this stuff, because there are bad actors like a Damon Jones that's being alleged that took inside information given to him by a Lakers player or two, right? Whomever that might be. Those people who mentioned it out loud to Damon Jones, right, are not culpable if they're unknowing that Damon Jones is going to go ahead and use it, for betting information.
Good. You're so much more intelligent than me. Putting it in proper wording.
Yeah, I'm just saying that you just on it when the news is coming out, you can't be too precise about what's actually at play.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, like we're saying, we just read an article where they're like, "Oh, LeBron passed on information." That kind of is unfair to put his name out there.
It actually is, and I don't like LeBron. But that's unfair. It is.
It is really unfair.
And everyone's looking for buzz with these kind of that 100%. I see it in front of you. And, whenever there's a organized crime involved too, you'll see a headline that says $50 million a week betting fund. And maybe that's volume, but that holds 3%. Like, they always make it look like it's much more than it is.
That's right.
Most of the guys are actually broke involved, but they're, living week to week. And so they make it look worse. And not that this is very bad, though. This Rozier, there's a lot more to this. I actually say, let me just be blunt. I bet NBA props every day, player props.
Hugely popular are NBA props in a way, quite frankly, that the construct of legalized sports gambling can't even properly convey. So in other words, with prediction markets and that kind of thing, they are so wildly popular.
Well, I always talk about them being beatable compared to sides and totals. Mm-hmm. So, but I don't mean being beatable cheating. I mean being beatable for information and things that are happening on the courts, on the sidelines that maybe a beat reporter picks up, something like that. But I know how much money I can get down. And I have a good network. I get down. I'll be blunt. I take $1,000 here. Take $1,000 at Westgate. $500 at a couple spots. Maybe $3,000-$4,000. Maybe. How can these guys get down these types of money? Well, you have to have huge sucker accounts, or find someone that's a sucker that has lost a lot of money into the big sports books. Maybe they could bet $5,000.
A whale flip of some kind.
I'm telling you, something smells here. I'm thinking if it's more than maybe NBA sides being bet more than just props or something, because a player that's a major star player that sits himself, maybe that affects that the total should be 211 instead of 215 or 214.
Well, what is alleged in the Rozier case, right, is there's a game in 2023. They've seized on one game when he played for the Charlotte Hornets where he left at the 9-minute mark. And unders were bet prolifically that day to the tune of $200,000 on props. They alleged props. And so I said this last hour, that the notion that, again, in the poker games, millions and millions, believable. To get $200,000 on a prop is you must have quite the network of outs, or what you're saying, which is or you have a couple, or you have like some huge accounts, or maybe a combination of both, right? Where you are able, if this is true, where it's alleged and nothing's been proven, that you're able to do this, because you know, and on the other hand, I mentioned is like for anybody who has like multiple PPHs and has like multiple outs themselves, maybe in that respect, it doesn't seem that crazy, because if one rando individual can have 6-7 accounts, would it be that tough to believe that crime families, that's the part of this that I hate to laugh, but the fact that we're talking about crime families here is just so
4 out of 5
surreal.
of the major New York crime families, they were real. I watched the press conference. They were real tough. Saying the word Italian many times. I mean, there's multiple crime families here, multiple different organizations of crime families all over the place. But they were real tough on saying it was these 4 out of 5 of the New York crime families that were Italian. But I'll tell you, Gil, a lot of people have to get their beak wet here. How can it be possible that all these accounts coming in and and Rozier's getting $200,000 or whacking up $200,000? It just something stinks to me here.
Here's what Montreal Max from Stardust Book has to say. Says, as someone who has been indicted in raids before, he's talking about himself.
Yep.
This smells of a targeted attack on the NBA using a couple prop bet scandals we already knew about. And ironically, Portland's coach caught up in a mob poker sting while this FBI director uses, quote, the NBA's insider trading saga, unquote. So Montreal Max is skeptical about some of this as well, right? Like that it's just a couple scandals that happen to be occurring simultaneously, and who knows what the
this guy's the real deal, by the way. Montreal Max.
Yes, that's why I read it.
He told me about offices years ago, before Charlie Sheen even came out and talked about gambling. They were booking Charlie Sheen. I mean, Montreal Max is the one that told Charlie Sheen on the phone that John Candy died. It just so happens it happened when he was putting bets in. Like Montreal Max is the real deal. So
you said something at the top there, though. Like for an athlete who makes 8 figures, I don't know if it's 9. I don't know what Terry Rozier's contract is.
4 years, 97 million.
4 years, 97 million. So rent
25 million.
So teetering on a 9-figure deal.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe, because we always speculate, right? Well, this could happen to the lesser players, right? Like the DeJounte Porter thing that happened with the Raptors last year. Okay, I get that. That man might need some money beyond what he's making. Maybe he feels, I don't make as much as these other players. I need to find a different source of income. But to someone like a prominent player who's making big money, it's really hard to fathom how you could get wrapped up in all
Something
this.
Stinks here. I mean, I don't know what it is, but this is not like the pitching scandal we heard. The guy pitching that made $800,000 and threw a ball first. It is. And to
Class
be real blunt,
Ortiz,
these poker busts that they're talking about. Now, online poker's been fixed forever, too. Online poker.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you even play something like this? There's been so many scandals.
Intuitively, you should know that.
Oh, there's been so many scandals. But poker itself, there's been so many different things that I have seen myself firsthand, where they sell these lenses and daub on the cards, and you could see them marked. Oh, my God. I talked about it right in this space a year or two ago about me talking about fixed poker games that are going on, not home games, in casinos. That's right, in casinos across America, there are games that are absolutely being fixed. And I'm not talking about just 2 people going partners in the game. I'm talking about other things stuff that they can't even pick up on. So now they did their investigations here. They found these, I guess, shuffler machines, from what I'm hearing, that were rigged easily to have those shuffle machines rigged.
Rigged poker games occurred in Hamptons, Miami, Las Vegas, Manhattan, allegedly. Poker scheme targeted victims who were lured to participate in rigged poker games by the chance to play alongside former pro athletes. The defendants utilized altered shuffling machines to read the cards in the deck and then relayed the info to an offside operator. The offside operator, known as the quarterback, then sent that info to someone at the table. The FBI also says the defendants utilized other cheating technologies, including poker chip trays that read cards through hidden cameras, special contact lenses and glasses that could read marked cards, and X-ray poker tables that could read cards face down.
Wow.
I don't want to, as I was mentioning earlier, there are 2 viewpoints on all of this. Again, all of this that we're talking about with the FBI probe from FBI Director Kash Patel earlier this morning is alleged. There is, of course, both sides here, and there's due process. Terry Rozier's lawyer gave a statement earlier. I want to repeat it one more time. He said, we've represented Terry Rozier for over a year. A long time ago, we reached out to these prosecutors to tell them we should have an open line of communication. They characterized Terry as a subject, not a target. But at 6 a.m. this morning, they called to tell me FBI agents were trying to arrest him in a hotel. It's unfortunate that instead of allowing him to self-surrender, They opted for a photo op. They wanted the misplaced glory of embarrassing a professional athlete with a perp walk. That tells you a lot about the motivations in this case. They appear to be taking the word of spectacularly incredible sources, credible sources, rather than relying on actual evidence of wrongdoing. Terry was cleared by the NBA, and these prosecutors revived that non-case. Terry is not a gambler, but he is not afraid of a fight, and he looks forward to winning this fight. That from Pablo Torre at Pablo Finds Out. Pablo, who's done such a great job on multiple counts on Pablo Finds Out, not the least of which is this right here. Bill Krackomberger, Unscripted, in studio with us, of course, each and every Thursday on a numbers game. This morning, no different. You can follow him on Twitter at Bill Crackman with a K. The name of the podcast, Wise Cracks, that he does with John Orlando. Billy, quite the morning.
Yeah, I read that twice. It's interesting. The NBA did clear him.
Yes, they did.
That's
yes,
interesting.
They did.
I kind of followed it a little bit. It would be interesting to see if they stretch this into something that I'm not going to say maybe it's not, but these guys are doing extensive investigations on this.
I think as far as attorney statements go, that's a pretty good one.
That's pretty good. I read it twice.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. You know what I want to know?
Yes, sir.
So these games, they singled out some games, actually, where Rozier supposedly took himself out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know if the big companies are giving back Joe Public the money that they bet on the overs on those things. If they're looking to seize money on that, are they looking to give back?
Yeah.
Because that's what, 74% of the public bets over on stuff.
Of course, the FBI, the way they couch it, that the books were the victims in this, right? That of
course they're the victims when they're putting billions of dollars and ad dollars and different. It's right in the NBA players' face, but I want to give you the better one. It's right in the college kids' face. It's right in the grade school kids' face.
Point.
It's not. We're not going to just say it's in the NBA players' face. They're old enough to make decisions as a man of what's right and wrong. Do I, take my $10 million a year, or do I want to bet $5,000 on a player prop, and I'll take myself out of the game? You have kids that make little or no money, and then you have, other kids that are just gullible to thinking I watch ESPN, so now I can bet sports and stuff. It's
that's a tremendous point, Bill, because with NIL money, there could be and I'm sure there is a lot of jealousies between teammates, right? In terms of that guy getting 200,000 doing this or 300,000, I'm not getting anything. So yes, the unevolved 20-year-old ish male brain, we were all there, right? We will make poorer decisions than we would 30 years hence. And so that's just, you're right. I mean, and by the way, and because the numbers are smaller with college players, whether you're getting NIL or not, with the exception of the top group, the temptation is going to be that much greater. Someone brought up a great point earlier. I want to seize on that because we're talking about, you brought up Clase and Ortiz, the two Cleveland Guardians pitchers. I said earlier, it's very easy for sportsbooks to eliminate the first pitch props, right? Because they probably don't get that much handle on them anyway. And so if the leagues came to them and said, hey, Clase and Ortiz did this, can we just get rid of this stuff? Then it's easy for the sportsbooks to say, sure, NBA or whatever league, we'll get rid of this. But what about NBA props were widespread down the roster, 8, 9 deep on these rosters of players. Yeah. Might we see that curtailed to only 3 or 4 players now?
The bottom line is every single sports book in America makes money on these props.
Yes.
In the end, they're not going nowhere unless a federal mandate or someone comes in and steps in and says, hey, you're not allowed to offer them. Even with these so-called fixes and whatever you want to call these things, doesn't matter. They're still making millions on NBA, NFL, baseball props every year. They're not going anywhere.
See, that's what I said earlier. I used the phrase I used was their North Star is still the money they make. That's their North Star.
That's perfect wording.
This just in from Shams Charania, who was first to report on much of this morning at ESPN. Portland's Chauncey Billups, Miami's Terry Rozier have been placed on immediate leave by the NBA. That could be expected, and there it is now before we even get off air. Chauncey Billups, Portland Trailblazers head coach, in Miami Heat's Terry Rozier, placed on immediate leave by the NBA.
So what did Chauncey Billups do? He played in a game that they found out later on to be rigged?
No. Terry Rozier was the prop bet that I talked
I know
about.
that. I'm talking about they played in a poker game.
Oh, no, yeah.
Chauncey Billups played in a poker game?
Well, it's unclear. We don't know the exact details of the Chauncey Billups, because one of the reports said he was luring, but then another one did say that he was what people were being lured to play in was to play alongside NBA players, and he was NBA players and coaches, and he was one of those people playing. So it's unclear precisely what his involvement was, but apparently the involvement was enough that he is the biggest figure, if you will, him being a Hall of Famer, not to mention a current head coach, wrapped up in all of this.
I don't get it. I think they're using a lot of people's names. If the guy played in the game, I mean, do you think Chauncey Billups is bringing somebody to the game so he can lose his money so Chauncey Billups gets a cut of it? I mean, I don't know. I think we're stretching here for certain areas. But listen,
we might be.
This is very bad.
We'll find out.
This is very bad for NBA. The prop betting, fixing people taking themselves out of games, very bad. I'm not saying that.
Here's a statement from the NBA, real quick, Bill. Sorry to interrupt. We are in the process of reviewing the federal indictments announced today. Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups being placed on immediate leave from their teams, and we will continue to cooperate with the relevant authorities. We take these allegations with the utmost seriousness, and the integrity of our game remains our top priority, as it should.
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely should. But the NBA is making a ton of money, just like all the other leagues, with these gambling companies. They should have even though they put some of these things in place before they allowed all these ads and partnerships with these big gambling companies. There should have been more done. That's all I can tell you. There should have been more done. There's a lot of money going around. There's a lot of team owners and a lot of team franchises in the NBA itself and all the different leagues that make a fortune off of sports betting. So I'm not trying to say that that they're doing something so wrong. All I'm saying is there's maybe there should have been this should have been looked at a little bit harder before PASPA was repealed. These kind of things. Maybe it should have been. To be real blunt, it's a question no one's ever asked me. I'll ask myself and I'll answer it.
Which is?
Bill.
Yeah.
Weren't you so excited when it was repealed and you were going to be able to bet legal sports betting all over the country? Yes. How do you feel now about it? Wish it wasn't even done.
Well, okay,
because you can't even bet anyway.
Well,
they all limit or throw you out anyway.
Absolutely, which is a different subject than the one we're talking about this morning. You're absolutely right.
I'll just go off on tangents.
No, that's okay. But it is. I said this earlier. It is in context, right? No one is excited about this, so I use the word victory in context. But it is a victory for that moment 7 years ago when PASPA was ruled unconstitutional. Legalized sports betting did promise oversight, and the fact that they would be able to suss out bad actors in a better way that unregulated sports betting could ever. So in that respect, you do give them a nod on that, if we're being fair. But to your broader point, which is a totally different subject, 100%, 100,000%.
It's too big to fail.
Yeah.
There's just so much money going on now. Now you're bringing the Kalshi and Polymarket in. There's billions of dollars that are being made here, and the $1 billion investments going on. But hey, I think we probably expected something like this. Probably not to this extent. I thought that Rozier's stuff was over with. This actually,
the NBA cleared him.
This actually shocked me. I thought that stuff was all done with. Now, you listen to these talking heads on ESPN. I can't even believe what Stephen A. was saying this morning.
I have no idea. What did he say?
Just he's blaming politics. He's blaming the administrations for it's amazing sometimes. And you know what? Sometimes I like what Stephen A. says, though. He goes after some people sometimes, and I always say at least he has the guts to say some things. But it wasn't only him. It was a combination of more than just him. So anyway.
We get tweets at Beating the Book from our buddy Buddhist Man. While you might not be able to get $200K down on individual minus 110 over-under props, I would venture it's much easier to get $5K down on multiple under-heavy SGPs, same-game parlays, that had upwards of 40 to 1 each.
A fantastic point. There really is these things where they have same-game parlays, and you can bet under on certain things, and if you can parlay them together, even though they are correlated and they are, let's call it taxed. You don't get the right odds at all.
Yeah,
doesn't matter if it's fixed. it's a really good point I didn't think about. So
Sean Fox plays. I laugh as the guests highlighting the Dubs offense as elite when they played probably the second worst defense in the NBA last night. Unless the Dubs can somehow grow, Denver should get whatever they want all night tonight. LA played two people hero ball and scored 109. Denver over 225 with the team play. J Bub, not only do you sit down to just play poker and wind up getting robbed blind, you get a nice dose of x-rays on the family jewels, he says. Jason, ice cold gambler. Nothing like a guy making $500,000 a week playing basketball, but feels the need to rig a prop to make an extra $20K or so. Just unbelievable. These major sports leagues need to have a mandatory class these guys should have to take before coming into the league on sports gambling, and why you get paid $100K a game. You don't need to bet until you are out of the league. All alleged, of course. We want to point out still to this point this morning. This is at Ayaoya S69. He says, we're hearing about this crazy technology. Who's behind this technology? How do they get approached? And how do they know that this technology exists? Ben Vanna. Michael Francis has suggested the only way the mob could get involved with professional athletes nowadays is by getting them compromised. How would they get compromised? I'd suggest by getting them in debt. Not saying this is the case, but it would make sense. Ben, that is always the reason for that involvement. It's not just done willy-nilly. It's because of that kind of situation. Typically speaking. Murphy 11821. Guys, are we actually supposed to believe that an NBA investigation into themselves has any credibility? No, we don't. Jack Olaquire. Gill went back and watched the first episode of Action on Showtime yesterday. Now I see how Jimmy learned the folded money trick from Krack for ease in paying at the counter.
Wow.
Also getting to see Krack's wife again. He definitely outkicked his coverage. Great show. And then Montreal Max will stop with the tweets after this. He says, Bill's right. As Chauncey could be a pawn in this, as being a poker player exploited into setup for others. And can anyone imagine the UFC or golf being targeted like this? You know, Spanky would be a good guest today as someone who went through a sensationalized case, he says, as well.
Yes, for sure. And,
appreciate all the tweets from everybody, because everybody chiming in.
There's so many more. I've seen 20 plus, so I know there's a lot more. We have a really good, you have an unbelievable fan base. So,
best listeners ever.
They really are. I have been hit up at least from 4 people that I haven't talked to in years. Not just because, just everyone goes their own ways, and we're friendly and everything. Even family in Ohio, hardworking, blue-collar, coal mine town. Literally, my cousin said to me, "Wow, do you believe what's going on? I can't believe this goes on here." And he's actually a sports fan, so he's one that sent me a whole bunch of things that, after not talking to him for a while, at least 2 summers ago. And him saying that he loves betting now because Ohio has legalized sports betting, and he's actually questioning himself, should he even bet anymore? But if this stops you from betting, absolutely good for you. Because I know that, of course, Joe Public has no chance long term against the 11-10, and even more 12-10. I'll use it closer to 12-10 on many things of live wagering, money lines, and stuff like that. Zero chance.
I want to add to this story here. Okay, so every segment, certainly every half hour, we have new details and everything. This is a clip. I want to show this clip. This is from a gentleman by the name of Matt Berkey.
Poker player.
Professional poker player. He appeared on the Only Friends podcast some years ago, right, guys? This was some years ago when he appeared on this podcast.
2019, maybe you said?
2 years ago, he appeared on the podcast. And he was talking about poker games that had migrated from Los Angeles to Las Vegas and involved Chauncey Billups. I'll let us hear this. This is in the words of Matt Berkey on this Only Friends podcast 2 years ago.
This must have been like 5 years ago, 2019-ish, I think, 4 years ago, where there was this game. It started in LA and then it came to Vegas for a few days, and it was all built around Chauncey Billups. And I had heard about the game, and the person who told me about it was like, "Look, I know the game runners. I'm telling you 100% this game is on the up and up." And I was like, "Well, I know a lot of the people that are involved, and I'm telling you 100% that it is not on the up and up."
Yeah.
And we kind of went back and forth, and I agreed that like I just wasn't going to go play it, but I had some friends who went and played it both in LA and in Vegas, and it obviously like was for sure confirmed to be cheated. Mm-hmm. Like people who clearly didn't even understand the rules of No Limit Hold'em are just like jamming hundreds of big blinds in with like a gutty and then just drilling it. Only the pros are losing. Like,
so there it is. It's always amazing to me that it's out there in the open, right? And it's been out there in the open for years. Here's a professional poker player that you are aware of, Matt Berkey.
I know who he is.
I
never met him or anything.
If you're a professional poker player, if you know what you're doing, they smelled a rat 100%.
Wow.
They knew.
Wow. Now, because I didn't get to listen to that, did he actually mention Billups' name in
Yes,
there?
he did. He said that the game, the way that he phrased it, I want to get the wording right, was all built around Chauncey Billups.
Wow.
So I don't know what he means by that, but what it sounds like he means by that is just what is being alleged here, which is that part of the way that ultimate victims were lured was that you got to play poker alongside the likes of a Chauncey Billups.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
And he says the games were fixed.
He says, yes.
Right.
He says, Matt Berkey, you didn't hear. I'm sorry, you didn't hear your piece in. Yeah, Matt Berkey said that from his perspective, 100% the games were not on the up and up.
Wow. And that was out there years ago.
Because all the pros were losing.
Yeah, they were losing.
And all the people who didn't know what, clearly had never played, who didn't even know the rules of No Limit Hold'em, were winning and just playing ridiculously.
Wow. It's so hard to believe, though. Some of these poker pros, they're always crying.
And then there's the Krack perspective on poker players, which counters the counter.
I'm
That's
just
right.
saying, but, it's just hard to believe. But now that it happened and he was arrested for it, it could have been on that kind of hearsay.
Great job, by the way, guys. Danny, Kelly, everybody for finding that video there. I think Pat McAfee had this as well this morning. This is that's always interesting to me when the quiet part is out loud and it's all out there. If you just know at the time how to put the dots together.
What does this do, big picture, on sports betting in America? I say nothing.
Nothing is my guess.
I say nothing.
Yeah.
Everyone will be firing away on the NBA tonight.
Yeah.
And this was conveniently timed for start of NBA season.
I said that our first segment. Isn't it interesting that on a morning when we're supposed to be celebrating Wembanyama, they come out with that this morning?
Right. No, but I don't think it does anything. I think it gets. And listen, I'm not saying it gets swept under a rug, but it's stuff that everyone has thought anyway. You know how many years I have fought against people saying the word fix in sports betting? And you know what? You want to know something? Sounds like they could be right to a certain extent. There is some things going on like this. And I just used an intelligence level to say, how can these people do it? Come on, these guys are making millions a year. You think they're going to risk it for a couple $1,000s or tens of thousands of dollars? It sounds like some of them will. It sounds like some of these NBA geniuses will.
Or, as was suggested in a tweet, they are somehow compromised, right?
Right.
That they are forced to be in such a situation. And we don't know that. Maybe we'll never know that.
It's an interesting thing how they tied this NBA case to the organized crime poker bust. This is two different kind of, maybe because of Billups being an NBA coach. But
well, they say there is at least one to three people that are involved in both, with Damon Jones, former player and assistant coach, actually having something to do with both. So again, the big tie-in is that it's all NBA related. But yes, generally speaking, they are two different tentacles to this thing.
Yeah, and to be real blunt, like I said, in the end, this will be forgotten about, and everyone will be firing the same volume we're going. Like the big sports companies may be a little bit worried for a second, but once they realize that this is in the scheme of things, they're still going to get all their volume from. No, what I'm trying to say is, like my cousin fooling around in Ohio saying I maybe stop sports betting. He doesn't mean it. And nobody's going to say, I'm not betting. I knew I shouldn't be betting this. I am not betting this anymore. That's not happening.
It's not happening.
That's not happening.
Not happening. How many times have you heard somebody say, that's it, I'm done.
I'm done.
Until tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I would agree with you on that count. But for the NBA and the integrity and the optics of this.
Optics,
that is
very good.
It is not a good day.
Yeah.
It is not a good day.
Sure.
Let's make no mistake about that. So I've talked a lot about different things regarding this case this morning and sort of just speculative things on my part, just as a sports bettor, thinking about all the different, just random thoughts that enter your brain. One of which was, hey, look, is Tim Donaghy sitting in a corner somewhere smirking at all of this? Huh. Is Shohei having breakfast in Toronto smirking at all of this? I mentioned earlier, Bill, about Malik Beasley. Malik Beasley got caught up in an investigation some time ago, but his NBA prop movement was counter to the result. So in other words, there was a lot of movement on unders, and then he soared over them.
Wow.
And my speculation was, is Malik Beasley the only smart guy who was smart enough to lose some of these bets if he was involved?
Right.
And he's not involved. He's not named in any of this.
Here. Right.
But who knows how widespread all of this actually is? And and I always think about someone like him, like, part of the reason that we have this day is because the execution of what these guys are trying to do is not as foolproof as they think that it is, especially on the sports betting side. The fact that you could be so blatant, oh, there's the ball, throwing the ball away. But in the case of Beasley, was he the only one smart enough to actually lose sometimes so that it took the scent off of his case? Think about that. Here's a great tweet from something I did not think about. This is Lawrence Carter this morning, who says, no NBA team here in Vegas anytime soon? That's a pretty good tweet.
Great tweet.
Because I have always contended, and we obviously living here in Las Vegas, you have a lot of people who are super excited to get an NBA team. They're always talking about expansion. And my point has always been about the NBA. If you listen to Adam Silver, he always has another priority in front of domestic expansion. He's obsessed with Europe, or there's a scandal here, there's a scandal there. He's got a fire he's got to put out there. He can never be pinned down on domestic expansion. Obviously, Seattle is first in line for an NBA expansion team. Vegas was always speculated to be second, but I always pointed out that Adam Silver never seemed so anxious about that. This can't be a good thing. Can't be a good thing for Vegas expansion.
I'm going to read a tweet from a guy that he doesn't even follow me, and I started out on the wrong foot with this gentleman. He's an old school guy, though. He came after me for something, but however, we worked it out. Over Twitter, unbelievably. Usually I don't even work things out, but I just sensed where he came from. I read some of his old tweets. Why would I put that much time into it? I don't even know. Usually I just block and move. However, I'm glad I didn't because I like him. Bill, his name is Peter Karma. Bill, as an ex-bookie in New York and Atlantic City, doesn't matter what a person's income is, doesn't matter what the risk reward is. Whenever money changes hands or is available, there will be scams, bank tellers, real estate brokers, politicians, athletes. Larceny has no parameters. He's absolutely right.
He's right. Super Jerk time. I'm curious about this on Super Jerk.
Yeah.
So here's a question for you guys. Do you think the commissioner, Adam Silver, had an idea of what was coming down? He talked about not having props on certain players last week. Huh. I was unaware of that. If he did, then it does sound like he had some inkling, even though the reports are widespread this morning that the NBA knew nothing as of last night.
So Silver actually talked about that? Did you hear about that?
That's what I don't know. That's unconfirmed. Let me just say this, though, because we ran the Matt Berkey audio last segment. I want to thank Rob Moreno, who was really zoned in on that. He's responsible for getting us that audio. And Matt Brown, who's on our network, obviously beloved host on the network, and Kelly and my former co-host on Primetime Action. Matt knows the poker world and is aware of Berkey, so we used him to sort of corroborate that was in fact, coming from a legitimate source there, if you will. So we appreciate that from Matt as well.
Yeah, very interesting.
And Fairway Fred is texting in, which reminds me, here's the $33 that he gave me.
Oh wow, you had it separated?
Ago. Yes, for you. There you go.
I can't believe you gave me. What'd you give me? 33 singles here?
30.
Oh, no. Okay.
No. Yes, all in
yeah,
singles.
It's saved from your piggy bank.
Fairway Fred, I caddied for an MLB owner in the 80s and 90s. He told me 80% of players were broke within 2 years out of the league. Not sure what that was referring to. That was
Fred, I wish I had you along when I was betting these futures last year for Gill on the Mets to have the best record of the month. That would have helped me back then. I think I might still be owed. No, I'm joking.
No,
I'm joking.
Just those 33.
No, I know. Yeah, this is lunch. I mean,
sorry you weren't part of the Astros before that.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Hey, I want to talk about before we go off air here. I know we dedicated this whole hour to this, which I understand deservedly, but for the people last week, some people were questioning why I had Terry Watanabe come in and this big gambler. By the way, over 4.5 million views on my tweets, on my Instagram and TikTok, just from Terry Watanabe. So that there's a lot of interest. Let me just tell you, every casino executive that is somebody watched this interview too.
Yeah.
It got lots of views on YouTube also. And, Terry and I were going back and forth for the last couple of years. And then he had these series of small strokes. And he wanted to come in. And one of his buddies said, Bill, maybe I want to tell Terry not to come. I said, yeah, please don't tell him not to come in yet. He didn't. He waited another 3 months. And finally he came in, and me going to dinner with him, lunch with him, and then I actually did my podcast with him where I knew a lot of the answers to the questions in case he had a problem speaking. But he really didn't. He was okay. He was okay. So they questioned us last week too, me more than you, having him here. That we had him. We were going to have him on 2 segments. We had him on one. We felt he told what he had to tell on the one segment. He was live, maybe a little bit nervous.
I just felt like
like going
people
beyond. People
thought
I was mad at you. Come on.
No. People are stupid.
No one's mad at nobody.
No, I made a decision while the first segment was happening to end it there because I felt like he was struggling.
Yep.
You said he was nervous.
Yeah, live. Live.
He's an older gentleman who had a couple strokes,
yes.
And I just felt like going beyond that would start to bleed into an exploitive feel. And I didn't.
We don't want that. But
that.
He's the one that wanted to come on.
Yes.
He's the one that decided I want to tell my story.
Yeah.
And I want to help others. It's an embarrassment.
Yes.
What happened to him?
Yeah.
That old school Japanese culture. His father, and it's an embarrassment to the family, and to his culture, and for him to go on and say that the different drug and alcohol fueled nights caused him to lose all this money, and I'll just say this too: we talked about being predatory. If it was up to the casinos to police people being drunk or on drugs and gambling, especially, he was not belligerent. He was nice. He wasn't mean. You might as well just close the doors and lock the doors. Alcohol's free-flowing everywhere. I'm not saying drugs is, but, just like if they had I always say, if they had to really apply the rules of know your customer and know where the money's coming from, the money comes from the people that are losing $1,000, $2,000 that are going to the ATMs and using their credit cards, and the people you're never going to hear about, the people you're never going to, because they're not going over the $10,000 rule and they're not, of concern. They're the people, if you ever knew where a lot of their money came from, I'm not saying it's all like that, just put a padlock on the doors. If you want to throw out gray area people, you just put a padlock on the doors. Don't even open.
I appreciate you bringing him in. I think he deserves super respect for being so open about it. I mean, the man lost $320 million. He lost his fortune. He even went into debt, and they tried to sue him for the money.
Yeah.
That's how unbelievable the story was. And for him to sit there and say, if I could just help one person, that's why I did this. And I think his point was made. And so I appreciate it. And as is reflected by the number of viewers that we've had on these, obviously people appreciate it as well.
He's trying to get a book out there. And in the book, he thought it was $300 million until he started documenting it. When he started documenting it, he realized it was more towards $350 million. But, and if this guy was such a bad guy or something, I probably wouldn't have, showed him in that light. Of being such a nice man. I mean, randomly I'm out and I meet someone that he paid off his mortgage. I was like, this is unbelievable. So I said, I got to get this guy on here. And I worked on him for years. And, I hope Terry, wish him the best. He's living on Social Security every month.
Yeah.
And that's how he has no money. So,
Bill, thank you.
Thanks for watching, but don't let the betting insights end here. If you want an extra edge this football season, you can get a month of VSiN Pro right now absolutely free. That means access to our betting insights, analysis, and tools like our betting splits at zero cost to you. Click the link in the description to sign up.